I'm going to pass it to Erin to start the investor portal side of things.
And thanks, Nicole. All right, let me share my screen. Okay, so like Nicole said, I'm going to go through what the investor experience is in the investor portal. The first thing I'm going to show you here is the login page. So this is where your investors will land when you share with them a link to the investor portal. As you can see here, your manager logo is prominently in the middle of the page, so they know that they're in the right spot. And once the investor enters their email address and creates a password, if they're logging in for the first time, they'll go ahead and hit login. And once they're logged in, this is the page that the investor will land on. As you can see here, this particular investor already has 3 investments with this manager. And at a glance here at the top, the investor can see their total capital balance, the total capital they've committed, total capital contributed, and if they have any return of capital, that would display here, as well as any return on capital. I'm going to go ahead. Of course, most investors are interested in their investments, so I'm going to start with View Investments. And from here, the investor can see at a glance that they have 1 pending investment that is yet to be completed with this manager. And then down below, if they have any completed investments, those would appear here at the bottom of the page. So this investor has 2 completed investments with this manager through 2 different investment accounts. Up here is a summary of the investments, again, at a glance, showing total capital committed and contributed, as well as their capital balance. And if the investor had received any distributions, that number would appear here. If the investor wants to take a look at their investment and do a deeper dive, they can click View Investment. And from here, the investor gets a little summary of their investment with this particular account. They can see the date of inception, their percentage of ownership, again, as well as any distributions that might have occurred and any net income. If the investor clicks here on this little arrow, again, a little more information about this particular investment. It shows the market value, the unit price, unit held, and pref return rate. Up here a little more towards the top, this investor has the opportunity to view any documents that may be associated with this particular investment. And from here, when they land on this page, any and all documents that are associated with this investment would populate here. But over here on the left-hand side, the investor can also sort. So if they have a number of documents, if this investment has been going for a long time, they might have a number of documents. And if, let's say, they're looking for tax documents, tax season, and they're looking for a K-1 or 1099, those would appear here. Or if they're looking specifically for statements, they can click on statements and easily find any statements that they might have received, as well as their investment documents. From here, the investor can also click on transactions and see any and all transactions that have occurred. And they can, if they have investments and multiple opportunities with you, they'd be able to search that here. Or if they're looking for transactions associated with a particular account, they can scroll through here and find the investment account that they're looking for in that particular investment. So if I click on Warner Family Trust, I can see the total transactions with that particular account. And go back to portfolio. If the manager wants to review the information that you've shared with the investor through the manager profile, they will land on the manager profile page, which Nicole showed us earlier. So from here, I can see that this manager has been verified, which means that all principals have passed our background checks. I can take a look at the overview of the manager and all the information that this manager has shared with their investors regarding the firm. View any videos the manager might want to share with investors. Click and see any open opportunities. And review any details on this manager, for instance, investor capital manage, principal experience, total real estate experience, regions, strategies, and types of investments offered. I can also view any key team members. And if I'm interested, take a look at their track record that they've shared with all their investors. If this investor is ready to go ahead and make an investment in any open opportunities, I can click here to see any open opportunities that have been shared with me. And I can do a deep dive into the details of the opportunity. And from here, I can see, a high-level view of the strategy of this particular opportunity, any risk profiles, and the type of investment. There's a description here about the opportunity that the manager has shared, a video, and I can take a look at any documents associated with this opportunity. For instance, the operating agreement, PPM, or subscription agreement, which I can download and view before I'm ready to make my investment. If the investor is ready to invest, they can go ahead and click here on invest, and this will begin the invest flow. Then I'm going to just show you what it looks like for an investor to create an investment account as well as an investment. From here, we can see that the minimum investment amount in this particular opportunity is $50,000. I'm going to go ahead and create an investment of $50,000. And then I'm going to check this box, which essentially says that this is a non-binding pledge at this time until I have an opportunity to review and sign the subscription documents, which will be sent to me at the end of the investment process. I'm going to go ahead and click pledge and continue. From here, I have an opportunity to either choose to make this investment from any existing accounts that I have already created, or I can add a new account. So to show you what that experience looks like, I'm going to click add new account. And I can choose any number of types of investment accounts to make this investment from. For the sake of this demonstration, I'm going to show you what it looks like to make an individual investment. So I'm going to go ahead and type in a first name. Email address. And from here, I have to choose if I'm a resident or non-US resident, as well as my citizenship. I can either choose to be a US resident or any other country that the investor might be a citizen of. The next step is to put in a physical home address. And this is important that the investor does put in a physical home address. This is one of the steps that we need the investor to complete in order to complete AML KYC checks on the investor. So go ahead and put in my home address. And then if I have a mailing address I'd like to use other than my home address, I can go ahead and enter that information here. Two more items of biographical information we need on the investor to complete those AML KYC checks is their social security number and their date of birth. Finally, the investor has two questions they have to answer down here. The first one being if they're a stock exchange member or a member of FINRA, and if they're a 10% shareholder in a publicly held company. I'm going to hit submit. And once I've hit submit, my investment progress begins to populate here. And from here, the investor can see that they have created their investment account. Here lets me know that my account has been verified, which means that I have passed the AML KYC check necessary to complete this investment. From here, I get to select how I'd like to fund this investment. If you allow both check and wire as a funding method, the investor has an opportunity to choose between those two. For the demonstration, I'm going to choose wire. And then once I choose wire, any funding instructions that you've shared with us to give to your investors will populate here. And I can download these instructions and save them. So when I'm ready to give this information to my bank to fund this investment, I have those ready. I'm going to go ahead and click continue. And the next step will be for me to add my distribution preferences. If this particular opportunity allows for both the receiving and reinvestment of distributions, the investor has an opportunity to choose between one of those two items. I'm going to show you what it looks like to receive distributions. Next, I have the opportunity to either have a check mailed to my home address or a bank transfer. I'm going to go ahead and select bank transfer. And then I have to add in the bank account information of where I would like those funds deposited. So I'm going to go ahead and select that I'd like the funds deposited into my checking account. I will have to nickname the account something. So I'm going to call it Warner Checking. I need to add in the bank name, the routing number of this account, and my account number. And then I'm going to go ahead and click continue. Oops, I didn't get a 5-digit number in there. Sorry. There we go. And hit continue. The last step in this process is for the investor to verify their accredited investor status if this fund or offering is a 506c fund. So I'm going to go ahead and select verify accreditation. And the first step in this process is for the investor to self-certify as to whether or not they are an accredited investor. So I'm going to select yes, I'm an accredited investor. And then the next step here is for the investor to choose the pathway through which they are going to prove their accredited investor status. So as you can see here, the investor has a number of ways that they can prove this, but I'm going to select that I'm going to supply a third-party accredited investor letter. So I'm going to click verification letter. And from here, I have an opportunity, if I have one already, to upload a third-party letter that is signed by either a CPA, attorney, or registered investment advisor that must be dated within the last 90 days. If I have one of those available, I can go ahead and click here and drop that file here. Or if I don't have one, I can select here, click here, and I can download a sample accredited investor letter that I can email to either my CPA, attorney, or registered investment advisor, asking them to fill it out and sign this on my behalf so that I can then come back here and upload that letter. If the investor doesn't have the letter readily available, but they'd like to go ahead and move forward with getting the subscription documents, that's totally fine. We don't require that the investor have all the necessary documentation during this process. We will, if they just go ahead and hit continue, a member of our team will reach out to the investor and follow up to make sure that we get all the necessary documentation to verify their accredited investor status. All right, so from here, I can see that I have successfully added a verified investment account. I have selected how I'm going to fund this investment, as well as added my distribution preferences. Down here, because I did not complete the accredited investor status yet, This little timestamp here lets me know that this item is still pending, but don't worry, like I mentioned, our team will reach out and follow up to make sure that this can completed before the investment is completed. The last step for the investor to do here would then be to sign the subscription document. And if the investor is ready, they can hit sign document, and a link will be sent to them from DocuSign with the subscription documents that they can go ahead and sign. From here, once that DocuSign link has been sent to the investors, we can see now that the investor, what we're waiting for, the next step in this process would be for the investor to sign those subscription documents. If the investor has signed, this would be a purple check mark. And then the next step would be for the manager to sign and fully execute the documents. And then once that's been completed, there'd be a check mark here. And then the last step in the investment process, of course, is for the investor to fund the investment. I go ahead and hit save and exit. And now I can see that I have added an additional investment that is now in my pending investment status. One other item I wanted to show you here is, in addition to the chatbot that Nicole showed us earlier with the manager dashboard tools, something that's new here is that investors have the opportunity to look up any articles if they need help from our support library. So from here, the investor can select, yes, I'm an investor, I'm looking for some information. And they have the opportunity to scroll through here and look to see if there is any articles that they're looking for. Lots of articles in here, reviewing your investment account transactions and statements. There's information in here about what this information means as far as transactions go. Really super helpful information. Or if that's not what I'm looking for and I'm curious how to find and view my statements, I can go ahead and click statements. And I can scroll through here and say, oh, yep, here we go. I'm looking on how to view and download my, investment documents or statements. And then there's an article with step-by-step instructions on how to complete that. And that concludes the investor portal experience.